foundation that we're going to be trying out today is by Max Factor, and it's their new Radiant Lift Foundation. So I picked this up from Boots. It cost me $12.99. Holy vaginas. But that's actually its offer price, so its full-time kind of permanent price is $14.99, which is actually pretty up there, you know. Max Factor, what's going on? I mean, really. So this comes in a total of 18 different shades. It was so difficult trying to find my shade, even in store. Like, I didn't buy this online, I bought it in store, and there's so many light shades, it's virtually impossible to find one that actually matches you, and a lot of the undertones seemed really like out there as well. But anyway, I eventually landed on Warm Almond, which is shade number 45. At this point, like, I'm not fully confident that this will match me, but I was losing the will to live, so this is the one that I just decided to go for. Now you don't have to choose between radiance and long wear. Max Factor Radiant Lift Foundation refreshes tired looking skin, that's me, with a natural healthy glow that lasts all day. Apply with a foundation brush or your fingertips to build a perfectly flawless finish to your skin. I was going to be applying this with my sponge, but it doesn't make any mention of a sponge, so I'm going to have to use a brush. Do I have a clean brush? Probably not. It claims to have hyaluronic acid in it. It's meant to provide a radiant glow and all-day coverage. Again, they're talking about hyaluronic acid, ultimate hydration, SPF 30, anti-aging formula, smooth coverage, and gives a healthy, youthful glow. So this is the little bottle it comes in. It's a glass bottle, and will it have a pump? It does. It has a little pump at the top, which is a nice touch. I can't believe that foundations are still being made in glass bottles without a fecking pump. How outrageous is that? Okay, so I have also just finished doing a kind of review of the Superstay Stick Foundation from Maybelline. I didn't like that one, so I've just kind of washed that off, primed my face again using my Nivea Express Hydration Primer, which is my favourite, and I'm now ready to try out the Radiant Lift and see if this one will suit me a bit better. Something's shaking in here and it's making me a bit nervous. Can you, like, what the fuck is rattling in there? I don't know. But anyway, guys, so I'm just going to pump this onto my hand. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Honestly, the undertones are just so out there with this foundation. They're either like super pink, super yellow, or super grey. It was like crazy. Like, I mean, I'm not feeling like this is going to match me, but we're just going to go with it. Oh my gosh, do I even have a brush? Okay, so I mean, I don't really ever use a brush to apply my foundation, but I've managed to find two brushes. I've got a flat top kind of kabuki kind of brush, and I've got the silk finish brush from Soeva. So I'm going to begin with the silk finish brush. By the way, the texture of this is quite thick. It's not in any rush to kind of run away. So I'm feeling like it might have a good amount of coverage. Okay. Okay, so the shade doesn't look too bad, but there were at least kind of 8 lighter shades than this one, and this one looks quite light. So I mean, yeah. Okay, so I mean, it feels really nice on my skin, and I know it sounds strange saying that because it's just going on, but it feels nice. Like, it feels good. Okay, so it does have that typical kind of Max Factor scent to it, which I don't really mind too much. It's very nostalgic for me. When I was growing up, I used to only use Max Factor because my mum used Max Factor, so I just used to steal all of her Max Factor. Okay, so I mean, that actually went on beautifully, like really, really nicely. It definitely does have a lovely kind of dewiness, like a radiance to it. And I think the shade actually isn't too bad. Like, it seems to actually match me oh my gosh, like I did not expect that to happen at all. But it actually, I mean, it looks really, really beautiful. If you compare the side that I've just done with the side that does not have any foundation on it, I think you can see that it's provided a moderate amount of coverage. I would say this is kind of light to medium at this point, but I'm liking it. It does actually make my face look quite healthy, which I'm appreciating, but the coverage isn't like super high. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna apply this to the other side of my face. I'm gonna use my sponge for the other side just to see if there is any kind of difference, because I generally I always use the sponge to apply my foundation, so I'm just intrigued to know why they've kind of not advised a sponge with this foundation. I mean, oh, actually, no, it doesn't look great. For some reason, like, it's almost not like blending out very well, which is really, really strange. Right, I'm back to the pecking brush. I just feel like this is quite an oily foundation, potentially. And I think that this sponge just wasn't really doing a good enough job blending it out. I'm almost just kind of stippling this on with the brush because it feels quite like it's sticky in a way, sticky and a little bit oily. And I think that's why with the sponge, it was just like not really blending at all. Whereas this stippling kind of technique seems to be working. I mean, it does have an absolutely beautiful finish to it, which I'm just loving. A little bit more on for the forehead. By the way, I created this eye look using my Zoeva Zodiac palette, which, oh my gosh, that is such a beautiful eyeshadow palette. And I just love this look. Like, I don't usually wear purples, but I'm really, really, really down with this look right now. I'm feeling it. Okay. Oh, I've got this all over my... Oh, look. It doesn't really match, like... I don't know, like, I feel like the shade might be a little bit too light for me. Because I have just been away on holiday and I didn't think I'd actually got a tan. But then, since I've got back and I've actually worn foundation again, I've realised that, like, none of my foundations are matching me, so maybe I did get a tan, which is quite the achievement for me, the girl that actually never tans. It's struggling a bit on my forehead for some reason. Just around my hairline, it's having a little bit of a nightmare, but I feel like once you've kind of blended it out and you've got the foundation where you want it to be, don't go back in and trying to do anything else, because it doesn't seem to like that. And I don't think this foundation would be particularly like buildable, just because I feel like once it's kind of set down in its place, it does not want to be moved. It says, girlfriend, I do not want to be moved. It's kind of like me when I'm in bed for the night. I do not want to move. I'm just ready to just lay down and chill out. I have applied the foundation to my entire face. And I think it looks good. I do definitely feel like it's oxidizing though. The camera is definitely showing the foundation lighter than it actually looks in person. Like, in person, it actually has quite a like warm undertone to it, but I don't feel like that's picking up somehow on the camera. It feels like I'm looking at a completely different person, and I definitely prefer how it looks in the camera than, you know, in reality, you know, in real life. I don't use any artificial lighting. I film in completely natural light, but yeah, it does look quite different, you know, which is really, really strange. But I like how it's made my skin look. It's definitely given me a radiant glow, as it said. It feels comfortable, but it does have a touch of that kind of mask-like feeling. It'll be really interesting to see how this is going to hold up against my oily skin. Now, I have more mature skin because I'm 34. I try and forget it, but I'm 34, and I do feel like this foundation is very flattering around like my fine lines. It's very flattering around my pores. It is accentuating them slightly, but like no more than any other foundation. It looks relatively flattering on my chin, but it does feel like very sticky. Obviously, it's probably not had much time to set yet, so I am going to go ahead, finish the rest of my makeup, and then I will be back and we can kind of check in and see how it's... Okay, so I have done the rest of my makeup now. I resisted applying highlighter because I wanted you to see the full glow of like just the foundation as opposed to the glow that's created from a highlighter, if that makes sense. I didn't use any concealer either because I sometimes feel like, this is no shade whatsoever, but I sometimes feel like when people are testing out a foundation and then they put like feck loads of concealer on, like how much of the foundation are we actually seeing if it's just kind of covered in concealer? So yeah, I've got something on my lip as well which is doing my fecking head in. What is it? Oh, it's your hair. Okay. See, this is why I very rarely wear lip glosses, because it collects all sorts of things. So this is how the foundation is looking. I think it looks so good, and all my other makeup went on beautifully over the top. So far I have such high hopes for this foundation. It still does have that kind of slight mask like feel, like I can kind of feel it on my face, but I'm just gonna give it time. And, you know, as I said, I am feeling very optimistic about it. So I am going to be wearing this foundation for the next couple of days just to really kind of thoroughly test it out. So the next time you see me, I will have a firm conclusion for you about how I found this foundation and just what my thoughts are. See you in a minute. Okay, so I'm back. I have been wearing this foundation all week, and I feel like I now have become acquainted with it, and I definitely have got my thoughts together on kind of what I think of it. Also, I've had it on today so I put it on at 6, 7, 12, 1, 2, 3, almost 11 hours. I don't even feel like I've been awake for 11 hours, but apparently I have. So I've had it on for almost 11 hours today, which is admittedly a very long wear time. I know that most foundations probably will only kind of generally wear very well for up to 8 hours, so I do feel like I'm stretching it a little bit here, but I've worn it all week, and I know... Anyway, let me just tell you, you just want the tea, so I'll give you the tea. Okay, so this foundation claims to be very kind of radiant, dewy. It claims to really make your skin look kind of super healthy and youthful, and I don't disagree with any of that after you first applied it. So for like the first hour or so after you first applied it, yes, the finish of it is beautiful. It's all of the things that I've just mentioned. It's radiant, it's glowy, it definitely does kind of flatter, kind of fine lines. It covers them. It doesn't make any areas of your face look cakey. It just has a really kind of beautiful finish to it. However, I have found that as time has gone on, as it's been on my face, it's felt extremely dry, which is a real kind of contradiction, because usually like it's the matte foundations that tend to make my skin feel dry, and I have oily skin, so it's quite an achievement for my skin to ever feel dry and look dry. But I feel like with this foundation, like as the day goes on, like my skin starts to look dry and it feels dry. It feels so dry right now. And I have used a variety of different primers throughout the week. I've used my Express Hydration Primer by Nivea. I've used my Superfruit Extract Primer by Makeup Revolution, which again, I mean, it's a serum, so it's quite oily. It's quite a hydrating kind of base. I have used my Radiance Primer by Laura Mercier. So every single primer that I've used have been like hydrating dewy primers. Like I've not used anything mattifying, so I know it's not the primer, it's the foundation. If me, who has oily skin, feels like their skin is cracking and dry and just super uncomfortable after wearing this, like I don't know how it would work on someone that has dry skin. Like I loved how this looked in the first impression, but I just feel like for me it does not wear well. I feel like my skin looks really dry as well, so I have got my kind of blush. It's like a really glowy blush that I've got on, so that's providing all of the glow in my face. As I said, I've had this on for 11 hours, so I'm really kind of, you know, giving it a really good workout. But you can definitely see it's kind of come off around my chin. It's come off at the sides of my face, around my pores. It's just, I mean, it's looking terrible. And you see how dry it looks on my forehead? Like, I just think it looks so dry, or maybe it's just because it feels so dry. I found that the best way to apply this for me was just use my fingers. So I would just use my fingers, like blend it all out, and then I would just kind of go over it with my sponge just to like refine it all. I'd say I don't hate the foundation. I will definitely be wearing it again, like for filming, because as I said, I think for that first hour, like the magical hour, we'll call it, it looks really, really flattering, and it does me a lot of favours. I just wish that it lasted a bit longer than the first hour. And this feeling of dryness is something that I've never experienced before, like with any other foundation. I mean, I probably have, but I can't remember it. So that's kind of strange. And if you do have dry skin, like, I don't know, have you tried this foundation? I'd be really interested to know, do you find that this is drying? Would I recommend this if you're only planning on wearing it for an hour? Yes. I don't know, like, I mean, it's really odd with foundations, because I feel like what doesn't work for me may work beautifully for you, as we all know. So I'm always reluctant to be like, unless I like really like absolutely super dislike a foundation, I try not to say, oh, I would not recommend this. And that's the case with this. Like, I don't hate it. I believe that it could look great on someone, like depending on their skin type, etc. So I would definitely say, if you're intrigued by this foundation, I wouldn't dissuade you from trying it, but just be aware that maybe it doesn't have the longest lasting power, and it may make your skin feel and look quite dry after it's been on for a bit. But I mean, it's not terrible. Is it worth £15? No. Have I tried foundations that are a lot better than this for under £15? Yes. A foundation that I would say is very, very similar but cheaper is the LA Girl Pro HD coverage foundation. That one is extremely dewy. It's a medium coverage. It's very comfortable, but it has much longer lasting power. So I would probably say, if you're thinking of buying this, maybe try the LA Girl one. I do have it somewhere, so I can show you. Okay, so it's this one here, the LA Girl Pro Coverage HD. This one is probably one of my favourite dewy foundations. Also, Essence's Fresh and Fit. Again, very, very similar. Essence one is like £5. This one is £10. So yeah, I think you can get much better for much cheaper, is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, guys, I hope that this video has been somewhat useful to you. If you've been eyeing up this foundation, please would you let me know in the comments downstairs if you've tried this foundation. Like, what did you think? I'm really kind of intrigued to find out what other people's experiences are with this, because I'm just so kind of outraged that a foundation would actually make my skin feel dry, because that's never happened before. So I'm just really interested to know what other people's experiences are. But anyway, guys, I am going to go. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.